All right, I am very excited to have Dan Corkill here with Follow Up Boss, and I've known Dan for a long time, probably 6 or 7 years now. And my team at Spyglass Realty uses Follow Up Boss religiously. Dan, how are you doing today?
Hey Ryan, really well. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. So we're going to get into a few things very briefly because we're going to get back into it. But tell anyone that's listening what you do, what your company does, and then we'll get back to that in a little bit.
Sponsored by Spyglass Realty. If you're an agent listing in another city or state, we will take great care of your clients and pay a referral fee. If you're an agent in Austin that's thinking of making a move, let's talk.
So I'm Dan at Follow Up Boss. Basically, we help real estate teams and single agents grow their sales. And really, we're basically a sales CRM for the real estate industry. We got started about 10 years ago. And, we're lead source agnostic. So we plug in and play well with everyone. And yeah, that's really what we've been doing ever since then.
Awesome. So where are you from originally?
I was born in Sydney, Australia. So yeah, that's where I'm from originally. Kind of, bit of a weird story about how I got into real estate tech. A lot of people like to used to be a realtor. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey learning about the industry and moving over to the US. I'm obviously based like you in Austin, Texas now. But it's been a fun time.
So I looked on LinkedIn, you were working for marketing firms before this.
Yeah, so I'd always been interested as a kid in like the internet and technology, right? And I think I learned a lot, just, in unofficial capacities. I ended up going to university and doing like a finance degree.
Where at?
Business. That was in Australia as well.
Okay.
University called Griffith University on the Gold Coast there. But yeah, basically, I found out like the world of business is very different to, sort of what you learn in school. And after school or after university, I went and did a couple of jobs working in finance. Didn't really like it. I think it's a pretty boring world, really, like
Sure.
a lot of, numbers and all that kind of stuff. And, then I really decided, hey, I want to move out of this. Maybe I can start making some websites for people, learning a bit more about online marketing. And yeah, I worked for a few different companies, just to, gain experience, and got a lot more exposure to like entrepreneurship and, essentially how companies grow and, all these different cool, like emerging things like webinars and, events and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Got you. So did you start Follow Up Boss in Australia and then move here or reverse? Oh, you did. Okay.
Well, no. So let me tell you what happened. So I was basically working for this company, and I got to a stage where I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to work for someone else. I want to sort of like hang my own shingle out there and give it a go. And so I basically quit that job. I didn't really have a lot of plans at that time. My plan was kind of like to go and backpack around Europe. I was like 25, I had some savings. And someone I work with, Tom, who's my co-founder here at Follow Up Boss, he comes to me and he's like, hey, Dan, do you want to start a software company? And I'm like, sure, I've got nothing else like work-wise going for me right now. I also knew Tom was like an amazing engineer. So it was like, a great opportunity. And I'd also been thinking a lot about software as well. So yeah, that's how we kind of got into it. But so the funny thing is, like location-wise, I was really traveling around Europe a lot. I lived in Turkey for a year. I lived in Germany for quite a while. I spent a little bit of time in the US when we were getting started. So it wasn't really started by me in Australia, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was traveling around. And so Follow Up Boss has always been a remote company, really from day one. So, yeah.
So who was your target audience for customers, real estate customers? I mean, first of all, you knew you wanted to start a CRM for real estate agents? Is that what it started?
Well, it started off, we had some knowledge of like the CRM products on the market. And there was sort of like things like Infusionsoft, which were at the time really complicated for small businesses. Some people used to joke it was called Confusionsoft, etc. But they were really powerful. And then there were also systems like Highrise by 37 Signals, which is very simple, but too simple. Like you couldn't even search by an email address. And so our thing was like, let's build something in the middle. It's powerful, but also simple enough that small businesses can use. So we did that initially, and that was our sort of vision for what we wanted to do. But then we quickly realized like you have to have a niche, because just trying to go out there, especially with a young product that honestly didn't have many features, didn't really solve that many problems for people.
Yeah.
You kind of had to have a niche and a specific problem, that you wanted to solve. And eventually we started talking to a lot of real estate agents in the US. Like I would be chatting with them, just trying to really understand their problems. And basically, a lot of people were starting to buy on leads, and a lot of people were starting to build teams, right? This is back in 2011.
Yeah.
And so there weren't really any good systems that could aggregate all your lead sources together and automate that at the time. There were great systems like Tiger Leads, Boomtown, Commissions Inc., but they were all just focused on their own lead source, which was pay-per-click, right?
Yeah.
So that was our differentiator, I guess. And that's where we sort of came in. And now everyone aggregates leads, but we were one of the first companies to do it. That was the big problem we were trying to solve for people.
Yeah. And so, I mean, for me, well, we'll get into this a little bit, but so, a little history for anybody, like a lot of my podcast guests, Dan and I met through Curator, about 6 years ago. And was your partnership with them, was that a big start for you?
Yeah. I mean, they were Chris was very well known in the industry. He'd spent a lot of time at like Top Producer and Realtor.com.
Yep.
So definitely, I think a lot of Curator clients or people we met through them,
yep.
Not only were sort of like great clients for us, but also like taught other people, like beyond just sort of like the Curator thing, like the thing that's been big for us has always been word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to, trying to do a great job for our clients, service and product. But yeah, definitely it was that was a great thing for us as well. Like kind of getting someone that's been in the industry. And a lot of our initial customers also came from, places like Facebook groups and, again, just some of our customers like Robert Slack were so successful and so many people trying to emulate that success. That's also where I think a lot of the word of mouth comes from.
Yeah. And what I love about your company is, I was with Tiger Leads, Commissions Inc. I had Infusionsoft for a while, Curator, Ylopo, Royal Estate Webmasters. And I know that like you guys have focused on doing one thing and one thing well. And I saw a post the other day, I don't know if it was in your community or another community, where someone's like, well, I'm thinking about, going from this platform to this platform, but the agents are gonna go crazy, which they will, right? I mean, it's very complicated. And like if I look back at Commissions Inc., when I was working using them, they had a great CRM, right? But when the time came for me okay, I wasn't going to use their website, the CRM for the price that I was paying just for the CRM, it just wasn't enough, right? I mean, it didn't make sense to use them as a CRM. And so what I love about you guys is you have adapted this platform to work with just about every single lead source there is. And I can't think of any, maybe possibly one company that does that strictly for real estate, right? Did you guys know you were onto something at that point or what?
Yeah, I think it's a very deliberate strategic decision. Basically, you don't really want to be doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. And so, a lot of these platforms, they're very similar offerings, right? Like a CRM, a website, and pay-per-click. And, we talked about the successful ones. There's probably like 50 other ones that were just trying to do that. And they just didn't get as big for whatever reason. But yeah, so we thought, hey, look, there's that's sort of saturated. It's also really difficult to integrate with all the MLSs in the United States. It's really difficult to do great digital marketing. Like things are changing all the time. Yeah. And so we just thought, let's focus on being really good at this. And that also lets us partner with everyone that's doing all this great digital marketing and website work. And again, lead gen's changing all the time, like Google local service ads, like all these kind of new things. That's going to continue to happen forever. Like it's never going to just stand still. And so, we just want to take advantage of those for our clients and also not be, because that just to, again, zoom back 10 years, that was part of the problem why no one was integrated, because it was like, oh, cool, Top Producer's owned by Realtor.com. So they want to integrate with Zillow, right? And Zillow had their own, things, but they didn't really have an incentive to integrate with anyone else. So it's that's something that's just been different about us. Like we're an independent company. We're
Yeah.
not really beholden to anyone. And yeah, we just, at the end of the day, we want our clients to use what's best for them and what's getting results, not just like the thing we're selling or the thing we're getting paid to promote. You know, we don't get paid by anyone to promote their platform or recommend their lead services or anything like that.
Yeah, and you're very interchangeable, and I think I mean, probably one of the struggles you guys have is making sure that your system is integrated with the next thing that's coming, right? And adapting your API and all that.
Yeah, and I guess I think one of the exciting things that's really happened in the last like 2 or 3 years is because our user base is so big now, that a lot of the times when someone's launching like a new referral program or a new lead gen product, like we're one of the companies they come to first, again, because we don't have a competing product and we have a big user base. So, I think that's another thing. It's like network effects or whatever you'll call it, right? Where now we sort of have some leverage to say, hey, you have to have a really good integration with us.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I remember a conversation you and I had 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. I don't remember. It was a long time ago where, and I know you guys have adapted this, but I want to kind of bring back to that, is that at the time you guys, I think it was probably before you released version 2, you guys were more suited for smaller teams and not bigger teams. And I remember you told me, yeah, well, we've got this, I don't remember who it was, but they've got like 100 people, and that was a rarity at the time, right?
Right.
Now, I think what you've seen, I mean, like I'm a prime example. I had, 4 years ago, I had 16 agents. Now I've got 70. Did you guys, what was the conscious decision there to say, okay, now we're not for smaller teams, we're for all teams? In fact, I think if I remember correctly, you actually went away because you were like for a single agents, right? So
we still have a single agent plan. We have people of all size sign up, really, like single agents. And then we have people coming on that honestly have hundreds and in some cases thousands of users, right? So probably our biggest like real estate client at the moment is like Robert Slack. He's got about 1,000 users on his one instance of Follow Up Boss. He literally started as a single agent like 7 years ago.
Wow.
And he just grew. And he was always pushing the system. He was always saying, Dan, I need these new features, to manage multiple teams within one account. And to his credit, that was the one feature we implemented. And then he was pretty much happy after that. So it's, sometimes it's like a sliding scale, right? Where it's like, there's more and more things all the time. But I think one of the things is we just tried to really keep the system easy to use. And that's one of the things that like people switching away from the all-in-ones, I think they find as an advantage when they're scaling their teams. It's really 2 things. It's like, 1, it's easy to train people in the system. It's faster. And then 2, we have all the integrations because we have an open API, right? So what that means is like, we don't restrict anyone's access to our API. Any company can come and build upon it and integrate with the Follow Up Boss data. So again, like that just is something a little bit different to some of the all-in-ones. They want to strategically pick who they do and, don't integrate with, and not integrate with competing systems, etc. But that's where, again, like I think, I think there's been teams like yours and other teams where this scale thing has really, it's become a big thing, I guess, just naturally in the industry, right? Like we didn't drive that. That's driven more by you guys. But then our platforms maybe being like well positioned to take advantage of it. So
absolutely. And we have a couple of agents in our brokerage that are using it for the teams feature, right? And one thing I was thinking about was as you grow as a company, what if you look back and like what do you think, what were some of the mistakes you made? We all have them, of
That's
course.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
I think I really have always tried to have this mindset. There's definitely been mistakes, but I've always tried to have this mindset of like that we just learned something and that didn't work. How are we going to solve this problem? Let's move on to the next thing. I think that's where some people get stuck. They just get so down on their mistake. But anyway, like I think some of the things probably I didn't do well enough would just be like hiring good people faster. We have an amazing team now. Like really everyone in the company is great and is really good at what they do. We retain people for a long time. And I think that just compounds and makes a difference. And, for too long, even there's stuff now, like I'm actually just hiring an assistant right now. We just filled that role and we found someone great for it. But it's just, yeah, it's just I need to change as a founder. Like I need to move more into like the CEO role than sort of the Dan has his hand in everything role. And I think
Yeah.
that's a challenge for team leaders as well, right? It's like
Yeah.
stepping back, trusting other people, and seeing
Huge
them make
problem.
mistakes, correcting it.
Yeah.
You're going to hire the wrong people. Like
Yeah.
you have to, you kind of that's going to happen. And again, like I would say a mistake is sometimes hiring the wrong person and just not letting them go fast enough. It's a tough thing. Like I hate firing people. I really want to see everyone be successful.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I think people is one of the hardest parts in business, and that's probably it. Besides that, I mean, honestly, it's been a pretty like, it's always been a pretty smooth journey, like I would say like emotionally myself, as a, a business owner, there's ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to say there hasn't been all of that,
Sure.
but we've grown every year since we've been in business, and actually every month except for like the 2 months when COVID hit,
Right.
the growth was kind of flat because everyone just didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And every other single month for the last 10 years, like we've grown. And so it's I don't know, like there's definitely things we're doing wrong.
But just getting, having that mindset, like, I mean, I have that too. Like if I mess up, I'm not going to sit there. Like I'm going to try 10 more things, and move past it very, very quickly. I think that's really important. So you're making, how many employees do you guys have?
We have about 65 at the moment. We just hired a bunch more people. We're really trying to hire more great people in support. We'll probably hire a couple more salespeople by the end of the year. We're always trying to hire great engineers. Like for all these positions, like we have pretty high standards, honestly. And I don't enforce those standards. Like now we have people within our team that are, like Megan, who heads up our success and support teams, is like, she's not going to let anyone in that isn't like amazing. And we're excited to work with them because, they're obviously going to be working with our clients. So engineers, they're really hard to hire now, especially now that every company is remote. That's honestly a big advantage Follow Up Boss had before. We were remote and not, 95% of companies weren't or whatever. Now it's like 99% of tech companies are.
And are they literally all over the world?
Actually, most people at Follow Up Boss are in the US. So we have like, one person in Canada. My co-founder's down in Australia. And we have someone, actually a random developer, Kuno, down in Ecuador, who just lives there. So, but everyone else is in the US. So it's even though we're all spread out across the US, I think that's important, just because most of our clients are in the US. Like I don't think if our whole team was in Australia or wherever, somewhere in Europe, like it would work as well.
Time zone wise.
Yeah, totally. Time zone wise, even culturally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just, there's some challenges with that. I do think like we probably want to expand a little bit internationally. Like we want to sort of like have 24/7 support. So one thing we're going to do is hire a few people overseas for that. But
what about Australia? Do you have Australian clients?
So the funny thing is, I've got like 2 clients in Australia. So you would think that I would have more. But we've only got like 2 clients down there.
Well, just where you landed, right? And so about your leadership, because, and this is the reason I'm asking this, is something we've been going through a lot. We started a process called Pinnacle, which is a lot like EOS. I don't know, are you familiar with EOS?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you guys run on any operating system like that?
We tried to implement a bit of like the scaling up system. I wouldn't say we really adhere to it very strictly. So I wouldn't say we're practicing it. We probably need to get back to a bit more structure there. About 2 years ago, we brought on Sam, who's our COO, and he's really helped with a lot of those, like getting some of the operation a bit smoother and taking some of that off my plate. We've got a great management team. So to be honest, like we're not following a super, like I do think there are things we could be doing better in terms of like reporting, or how we, even as we grow, like how can we make it super clear what Dan is doing versus what Sam is doing versus what, Megan is doing, and all these different people in our team. So I don't think we've perfected it by any means. I think one thing that's worked well for us is just trying to have like these principles that we're all in general working towards, which is like create value from our customer, for our customers, and try and just get stuff done. Like I think a lot of bigger tech companies, they can't get anything done because there's so much red tape and meetings and, technical debt and all this kind of stuff. But Yeah, I don't have any perfect answer there.
No, that is a great answer. I mean, we were following EOS loosely for about 2 years, very loosely. And then so if we want to talk offline about that, I'm 3 months into this and it's been great. It's just so structured and we've become so much more nimble at topics, like in our leadership, we meet once a week for an hour and a half and just go through boom, 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 knock them off. So I have to ask you this. Okay. So you moved just specifically because you're in my hometown. Where were you before and what made you choose Austin? Because the majority of my podcast listeners are in Austin. We haven't grown out of that. We have a little bit, but not much.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So when I first moved to the US, I had to move to the US because just the time zone, it's like midnight in Australia is like 9 a.m. in New York, and all our clients again are over here and in Canada. So after I finished traveling in Europe, basically I moved back to the US and back to Australia. And then I lived there for about a year, almost 2 years. And then I was like, okay, the business is growing. I've got to move over. So originally I did move to San Francisco. I'm just like, well, that's the software, center or whatever. And, basically, there's a lot of good things about San Francisco. Obviously, it's got a lot of challenges with, the city and homelessness. It's super expensive. I was paying like $4,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment, like nothing special at all. There's extra state taxes there. So eventually, like, I just realized, like, hey, why don't we go check out Austin? Like, and I came here for 2 weeks with my wife. We really liked it. I think people are a lot friendlier. And yeah, we just like the weather. I guess we came at the right time of year, right? Where it was hot. And, I think the pace is just a lot more similar to Australia. Like I think people are a bit more laid back, whereas I think in San Francisco and big cities like New York, everyone's like, oh yeah, let's build the next Salesforce. Like this is super just all about like, I don't know, like raising money and things like that and selling your company and all that things. And those are things that, we're not really that aligned with. We're a self-funded company and owner operated. So it just started to make less sense. And I looked in, this was about almost 5 years ago where we made the move and like, we've been super happy. I know now there's too many Californians moving here. So it's like, I know
People say that, but I like, we're still retaining our culture here. And, are you're networked with the tech scene a little bit here?
I could do a much better job at networking. Definitely, I've been definitely met up with a lot of people here in the tech scene, but it's something I was never super great at in San Francisco either. I definitely think here it's a little bit easier to, again, it's just a little bit friendlier,
a little less ego, a little bit more, easy going, right? That's one thing in Austin, like
absolutely.
People will come here like, okay, well, we're going out. How do I dress? And I'm like, literally, however you want to. It's going to be, even now living in Houston, there's like, oh, you got to dress like this to get into this bar or club or whatever. I was like, no, I don't know any place like that. So what's on the horizon for CRM? What's on the horizon? Oh, I know. I want to say one thing before, right? So, Howard Tager is a good friend of mine. We had him on a couple episodes ago, and I just thought it was really a good play for him, what he did with Ylopo he's really the only platform that I know that said, you know what, we're not going to get into CRM. Did you guys talk? How did that go when they were starting up and when you, I know you're not the only CRM, but you're probably the main CRM that they use. Did you guys talk when that was happening?
We chatted pretty early on. I think they might have tried another platform first and just, it didn't really work out that well with those guys. I think they definitely integrate with other CRMs. So again, they're trying to do on the digital marketing side. They're trying to be agnostic and work with everyone. But we definitely have, I think we're the CRM that's most used by their clients. I think, I just think there's similar values in both companies. Like we both care about tech. We both care about our client success. Whereas, there's a lot of other great companies out there in the space as well that care about both those things. But I think there was just really good alignment there. Which has led to a good partnership, which again, like we don't have anything on paper or like, hey, like we need to refer you clients or you need to refer us clients. It's all just, again, just sort of like a natural partnership there.
Yeah, and what I love about that is like, both those companies are like, you're staying in their lane, and that's a good lesson for any business person, right? Is like, if you try to be like, if I were trying to do commercial property management, leasing, and you're never going to be jack of all trades, master of none, and I think that's a good lesson for business owners, and particularly people in real estate, is to kind of, and you said in the beginning, is like, you really want to have a niche, right? You don't want to be a CRM for everything, because it just doesn't work that well. And this is why, I've got a friend of mine in the medical CRM that just made a ton of money selling, because and actually more niche than that, he's in the oncology CRM, right?
Right.
So okay, yeah. What is next for a Follow Up Boss and CRMs in general, as particularly with you guys as it relates to real estate?
Yeah, we're really just focused on continuing to do what we've done, like continue growing the product, continue growing the team. We're definitely, again, we're still 65 people. It's still not the giant tech company, but we're growing. We'll be 100 people soon. And I think what we're really trying to focus on is like, how do we retain the great culture and, retain like this kind of get shit done attitude, basically, instead of just, letting any ego into anything, or red tape or whatever that may be. Different features we're excited about launching. We've got like this video texting one. I know that you've tried it out a bit. We can chat about that a bit later, get some feedback as well. But yeah, making the product easier to use. There's features we want to build next year. All kinds of stuff like Call Whisper.
What's that? What is that? You gotta tell me about that.
So Call Whisper is just like when you can basically listen in on someone's sales call and give them tips live. So like, let's say you're training like a new ISA or an agent, you could actually be on the phone with them, but the prospect can't hear you. So you can just, because I think the thing is you can listen to calls already, but the problem is it's not real time. So especially being remote now, it just lets you be like, it's almost like you're looking over their shoulder and just, giving some tips like, hey, you're talking too much, or hey, make sure to ask another like good question, right?
Yeah.
So, we're excited about stuff like that, because one of the things that I've realized, we've seen so many of our clients see like so much success, and we have a lot of the technology, like the technology is there, but I think a lot of what people need more of is coaching, like clarity, just a lot of stuff there's sort of like those non-tangibles. It's not like you just need an extra automation or this extra feature. Sometimes those things can even get in the way. So, definitely going to continue improving the product, but I think that's also what we're trying to get better at. About a month ago, we did our Follow Up Boss Summit. Really good, like 4 hours of content. We had some amazing clients on there and speakers, and had 1,000 people live the entire time. Everyone's super excited. And so that's the kind of stuff we want to do more of, more educational stuff that can just add value for our community.
Well, and I got to tell you, so I'm going to give this credit to Sonny, my operations manager, but about a month ago, because we're growing pretty rapidly, and we were looking for a onboarding system, not like Trainual, because we have that, right? But more of an onboarding system for recruitment, because the problem was we're mostly remote and we don't know who talked to what. I'll give credit to Sonny and Lee Atkins, because he helped with this too. So we could, like, okay, we don't want to learn a new platform. What are we going to do? And then we thought about, well, what if we use Follow Up Boss? So we set up three or four smart lists for agents. Okay. And we put the agents in there. And one of them is, because like we don't want anyone to feel left out. You have some agents that, you may not talk to them for a while and they're completely okay. But then you have some agents you don't talk to that they may not be okay. You just don't know. So one of the lists is is just follow up, and it's like, haven't talked to you in 14 days. And anytime any one of our leadership has a conversation, they go in and log the call and put the note in there. And I mean, we're just trying to increase the company culture. And I got to tell you, I think it's better than any platform that we could have used to do that, because I mean, we've only had it launched about 2 weeks, but like now we know who has talked to what. Because like before that, I was like, okay, have you talked to such and such? He onboarded a month ago. What's going on? And one of them's an onboarding, people that are onboarding. One's just all of our agents, and one is follow up. And like we started at like 60, and now we're trying to get that number down to 10. And then make sure that we don't have an agent that one of us isn't having a meaningful conversation with, even if it's just to see what's going on, over 2 weeks,
I love that. I know you did the coaching with John Cheplack, right? Is that part of his system or?
No, no,
Or...
no. I coach with John. In fact, I got to call with him tomorrow. But no, I put that in the system, and Sanit had said use like Sunday or something like that. But like, I mean, we just didn't want another task management system. And like, I teach my agents, like, I mean, dude, it's over and over again. Like, you know, my job is recruitment, right? I don't sell real estate anymore. Okay. So I literally spend 2 hours a day minimum in Follow Up Boss, right? I'm just using Follow Up Boss system for agents. So when we came to launching the onboarding thing, why not use what we're already used to? You know, Lee helped us put some smart lists together, some triggers in, and now that's our go-to for not just for me actually seeing who I'm going to call, check on to recruit, but also using it as a means of communication so that the leadership knows what's going on with every single agent. And it's beautiful. So
I love it, man. Yeah, it's, you know, it's one of the cool things. People are always finding new things to do with the platform. And yeah, that's smart. I mean, everyone working remotely, it's a major challenge. Like you're saying, sometimes like, I don't know if like, you know, X person on my team is okay. Cause you know, we're not all in the same office. It's not easy to see. So
sure.
I love that you guys are, you know, implementing those kind of check-ins.
Yeah. So when I got 2 more questions, you know, this is what I want to ask everyone, because I know I ask people in your position, tech CEOs and stuff. You talk to a lot of top performing team leaders, sales managers, things like that. What's the common denominator behind top performing people? Agents or real brokers, team leaders, whatever. Is there something that you would say all of them have this, or all of them have these 2 things?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, I think persistence is just one of the major things in any success equation, you know,
Yeah.
like that. So many people, I think, start out in business, they try 1 or 2 things and they quit. It's like, dude, you got to try like 1,000 things, like, and then think about, you know, maybe doing something else or whatever. Like, so I think just ruthless persistence. I love that Michael Jordan documentary. Like, they talk about like him pretending like he has a chip on his shoulder. I think a lot of high performers have some kind of chip or something to prove.
Yeah.
I mean, then there's so many other skills, you know. I think in the real estate game, you've got to be great at marketing. I mean, if you want to get big, like that's really a key thing. So we see some of our clients just really crushing it, like the Gary Ashtons, the Chris Lindells.
Yeah.
You know, they're sponsoring local sporting teams, they're putting up billboards, they're on the radio, they're in the media. They're really marketing machines and personalities. You know, recruiting, like you said, how can you create this, like, you know, a culture, really? Like, I think that's probably, you know, to look at like some of the unsuccessful teams, it's like they're just taking anyone. There's no accountability. There's none of these check-ins, and, you know, they're kind of hoping for the best, you know, and that's where probably we all started. Like, I made a lot of mistakes,
sure.
You know, again, at starting my business. I'm sure you did as well. But then you've got to, you know, you want to be more successful, you've got to have higher standards. So,
yeah,
you know, I'm sure there's a few other things that I missed out, but like, I definitely think those are some of the things you've got to get right.
No, you're actually exactly right. And you know, and standards has been the biggest part of our culture is making sure, like, I mean, I could have 150 agents, right? But then 75 of them would be doing nothing right now. And so, you know, some of the mistakes I made, you know, we hire 3 to 4 to 5 brand new agents a year, and I'm done with it now. I've got 1 more that's coming over. It's just that, you know, I know a lot of teams, you know, I know a lot of the teams teach you got to have those training systems in place. But we don't, right? Not for brand spanking new, not just got your license. I mean, you know, like, knowing who you are, for me, and is like, we're not good if you just got your license. We're just not. So, you know, had to learn that lesson over and again. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you. Where can, if anyone's looking at Follow Up Boss, anyone looking at, you know, for you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, just go to followupboss.com. We've got a, you know, 2-week free trial there. My email is dan@followupboss.com. Yeah, that's where I am mostly. Also now, like, our Facebook community with our clients. It's other place kind of like to hang out.
A lot of value there. Well, I have to say that I've been a Follow Up Boss customer for probably 6 or 7 years. I cannot, our organization is just, it's like the key part of our organization. It's a wonderful product. I love it. There's no place I'd ever go. So thank you so much for being on our broadcast today.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.